Welcome back to 20 Sided Adventures. This video we're going to be talking about a new item that came out in the Shades of Blood adventure path. I went over it a little bit in my video concerning this adventure path and some new archetypes that came up, and I really just stumbled across this while recording the video because I don't really do scripts and the like. I kind of just run with it once I hit record. So in finding this item and how cool it was, I thought it really needed its own video. So here we are, the Essence Forge. This is a cool way to have crafting in a low downtime campaign where you don't have the time to really lean into crafting. Now, I also have my complaints with the crafting system in Pathfinder. It's one of my few, and most of them all revolve around items, because I understand they tried to get away from an aspect of the original Pathfinder where items became a huge part of your character build. Getting the right items was almost as important as picking the right feats. And I can understand they tried to get away from that, but I feel the scale tipped so far to the other side that crafting and items, they just lack that real intensity that I enjoy in the game. So the Essence Forge makes crafting a little bit more viable, helps a party that maybe doesn't have the downtime to really lean into crafting, and it's just a super cool item that also uses the victory point subsystem, so we're just mixing all kinds of great aspects of Pathfinder. If you like the channel, the content, and what we're putting out here, very much appreciate a like and subscribe down below. It is the easiest way to support what we're doing here on the channel. And with no further ado, let's get into the Essence Forge. Hey, I'm up here this time, trying to find a better place to position this new circle to block the least amount possible so you can still see what is going on my screen. So here's the Essence Forge. Again, kind of briefly went over it in my previous video. If you haven't seen it, the Essence Forge is a rare magical item that is like this big crafter's table with all kind of magical contraptions and a place to feed in raw materials, and it will convert raw materials into an essence that you can use to craft within an 8-hour period. Now, each Essence Forge is unique to a magic tradition, but it doesn't need to be fed by things from that magic tradition. So you could feed in other magical items, gems, raw materials of gold, chunks of special material, really anything that has a gold value assigned to it in Pathfinder. The Essence Forge can consume it, devour it, break its essence down, and then through your ability to control magic, convert it into an item that you have a design for. Now, the trick with the forges is you can't go out and buy them. So if you want your players to have access to an Essence Forge, you as a game master are going to have to build into your story, how do they get one? Why is it here? How do they come across it? How do they obtain it? Now, there's plenty of ways you could probably just pop it into a shop, but this is a pretty rare item. So if this is something you want to add into your campaign, you're going to need to make some story around it. And realistically, something of this nature in the world, you can probably make a pretty good plot hook that revolves around getting this Essence Forge. So not only is this just a cool item for your players to be able to lean into, it's a great piece for GMs to build story around. And this is one of the great things about Pathfinder, is while it has a lot of crunch and all kinds of obscure items and all sorts of things built out, having more of that rules-based world existing creates so many opportunities for a game master to understand how their world lives and breathes. And that's one of the reasons I really love Pathfinder. And I feel that, as Jocko says, discipline is freedom.
Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good.
A lot of times these rules are freedom because it gives you such a great foundation for you to then be able to build everything else off of. And the Essence Forge is one of those great aspects of Pathfinder that really does that, in my opinion. So we're going to scroll down here to how this thing works. Let's see, checking my positioning. Okay, you can read the activate. So you spend 1 minute filling the forge up with whatever you're going to be stuffing into it. Those magic items you didn't want, which now you get the full gold value of instead of selling them for half or less at the local shop. So as you're filling it full of raw materials, now here's the catch. It can only hold up to 3 bulk. I'm holding 3 up. You can't see here. 3 bulk of raw materials. So, you know, platinum coins are going to get you further than copper coins of filling them into this machine. So you also have to be careful with that when you're using items you've scavenged from your dungeon or taken from the bad guys that it doesn't really work for anyone in the party, and you're going to feed it into the essence here. You need to keep that bulk in mind. Once you have boiled these items down into their raw essence, you will make a check that corresponds with the type of forge you have. So most of them are dual purpose. Occultism gets a little bit more than I think nature and religion. But be that as it may, depending on the type of forge you have, you can make an arcane, nature, occultism, or religion check. Each have 2 options to attempt to create this essence from the raw materials. As you'll see here, on a critical success, you boil all of the materials down to their full value. So you get the maximum value of every item you stuffed into the forge, as well as you get an item bonus +1 to the skill that you use to prime the forge for the next 24 hours. So not only do you get the full value, but you're getting a buff as well. On a success, you get the full value of the materials. On a failure, you get half the value of the materials. And on a critical failure, the forge just eats your stuff and you're out of luck because you're not good at using it. Now, you have to spend 2 hours activating it, and this requires concentration, so you can't have things that'll disrupt your concentration, as well as you cannot be fatigued. Now, while you are using this forge, you can take any formula for an item you know, or you can create an essence charm, which is a unique item that can only be built from the essence forge. Let's take a quick look at what essence charms are. Essence charms grant you a +1 item bonus to whatever skill you desire. So you can make an essence charm to boost any of your skills. It only requires 100 gold worth of materials put into the essence maker, and it has a reaction that can be used once per day, where if you critically fail or fail this check with that skill, you can use this reaction to improve it by 1 step. So critical failures become failures become success. There's some skills that have very few items to get you that item bonus, so this could be a great way to do that. And if it's a bonus you use frequently, like you're a rogue and so using thievery is super important to you, and you want to be able to get a free reroll once per day on that critical lockpick, well, here you go. You get the lucky charm aspect of the essence, and just a fantastic little item that you can make as soon as you have an essence forge and is really valuable. Now then, every 2 hours, you are going to make a check based on the type of item you're making. The forge can only make items that correspond to the tradition that they belong to. So if it's a magic item that has magic that's drawn from a divine source, you can only make divine stuff in this essence forge. If it's nature based, you can only make nature stuff. If it's arcane based, you can only make arcane stuff. If it's occultism based, you can only make occultism stuff. Each forge can do 2 things, which will cover the vast majority of what you have formulas for. If you come into a magic item you want to create that maybe doesn't have a type, talk with your GM, figure that out. Shouldn't be too hard to sort out. So you can sustain this for up to 8 hours, so you can have a total of 5 attempts going across 10 hours to attempt to create this magic item. Now this uses the victory point system from Pathfinder. So we're going to jump over here to victory points, which essentially you make a check and have the following results. If I can find it, here we go. When you attempt the crafting check for the initial 2 hours plus each 2 hour block you sustain for up to 8 hours after that, on a critical success, you earn 2 victory points. On a success, you gain 1 victory point, and on a critical failure, you lose 1 victory point. On a failure, no progress is made, yet nothing is also lost. Okay, so what does that mean? So best case scenario, you could generate 10 victory points if you critically succeed every attempt. If you just success every attempt, that's a total of 5 potential victory points. And then everywhere in between that, you could go -5 if you just had the worst luck in the world using this. So now we're going to scroll back up here and take a look at the forge chart. So if you have 0 or fewer forge points, because they do calculate in, you could get negative forge points. You get a level 0 replica of whatever you intended to craft. So it looks really cool. Hang it on your mantle, impress your friends. 1 to 3 forge points, you create the item as intended, but it only lasts for 24 hours. Not great, but if you're doing it just before you're going into something important and you need that really cool magic item, well, then there you go. If you get 4 to 5 victory points, so this is pretty much succeeding every attempt, maybe getting a critical success in there to offset some of the failures, you successfully craft the item. So pretty big gamble because you need to get 4 out of 5. Now, again, 2 critical successes and you could just be right there, shut the forge down. You don't need to go past 4 hours. You have created the magic item that you are interested in. 6 or more forge points. Now, here's where things get cool. You successfully craft the item and it works better than expected. Choose one of the following enhancements to add to your item. If the item has an activation that has a frequency of once per day, that activation can be made an additional time each day. So any magic item in the entire catalog of weird, quirky things that Paizo comes up with, if you can get the formula for it, successfully work this forge, you can turn it into something used twice as often. That's huge. If the item has an activation that has a DC or a strike modifier, that DC or strike gains a +1 bonus. Do you have a magic item that you're just like, it's so close to being useful because the DC is just not high enough? Well, it can get a little bit of a boost. If the item is invested item, it grants a +1 item bonus to initiative checks as long as you have it invested. Just a straight +1 item bonus to an initiative for creating this magic item you wanted anyway. There's very few ways to get a +1 bonus to your initiative check. That's pretty awesome. The item is well crafted and can be sold for 60% of its price rather than half its price. So if nothing else, you get a little bit more cash if you want to sell it after the fact for the same amount of stuff that you dumped into it, assuming you're breaking down items that you are going to be selling at 50% anyways. So this is a great way to just maximize the loot, if nothing else, that you're getting, that you wouldn't be able to cash in for the full value. This also is a great way for your players to take items the GM has granted that maybe just didn't hit. Some people just use random number generators. Some people are really realistic in the loot they could find instead of, oh, miraculously, this monster has all of the things you would ever have wanted to find. It has the stuff it would probably be interested in or useful for what its class was or its job was. You have items that augment how that bad guy or monster operates that maybe aren't just super cool for the party. This is a great way to turn those into something useful. The Essence Forge has one other use where you could take essence into it to heal yourself based on its HP. I don't know why you would necessarily want to turn cash into hit points, but there could be an instance where you guys just need to heal up super fast, and so the Essence Forge maybe could do that for you. Now, there are different sizes of Essence Forges. There's a level 6, a level 12, and a level 18, and these dictate how much they heal, as well as how much they can ultimately store. So the level 6 one can only hold up to 50 gold worth of essence, the level 12 can only hold 400 gold worth of essence, and the level 18 can only hold 5,000 gold worth of essence. And now each of these forges have a DC based on their level that you have to hit to successfully use them. Some things I would do as a GM to slightly tweak these. If you have a greater essence forge, I would allow them to use the lower level DCs if they were under the gold amount. So if you're doing less than 400 gold on a greater forge at my table, you could use the DC 30 check. If you're doing 50 or less, you can use the DC 20 check. I think that makes a lot of sense. The other thing I would say is the Essence Charms only go up to +1. You clearly have 3 forges. I don't see why you couldn't maybe gross up the cost of them and get a +1, a +2, or a +1 and a +2 at least, because you really can't make the lesser Essence Forge technically of an Essence Charm. So that's kind of a weird quirk. I don't know if that was intended by the developers, because you have to at least have a moderate one to make the 100 gold Essence Charm. If we go to the requirements, it's primed with raw materials equaling or exceeding the value of the item you intend to craft, and you are not fatigued. So you do have to get it up to 100 gold to choose an Essence Charm. But then they also just says, or choose an Essence Charm. Yeah, I think they maybe they didn't get that quite right. Or you're just not meant to be able to make Essence Charms on the low grade Essence Forge because it only holds 50 gold. And as we can see here, Essence Charms are 100 gold. So you need at least the moderate, even though it is of level to have made that. Interesting stuff. I kind of wonder on the level of items if the 50 gold really, like, I wonder how much they dialed in those items as well. As a GM at your table, I'd maybe look at those and play with them if you're real excited about the Essence Forge, and just make sure this is still something pretty cool for your players to operate with. So there you go. The Essence Forge, a fantastic way to make crafting interesting and exciting at your table, which I think is something that Pathfinder really misses the beat on. If you're playing a game that involves downtime, you should be able to have people that want to lean into being crafters and make it valuable for the table. I understand a lot of times in Pathfinder 1, there was concerns that crafting just kind of became an infinite money loop. I think the trade-off of time versus money is a valid thing as it is in the real world, so it can be in your game world. If you take 3 months off to make your party all of the cool things, what do the bad guys do in that 3 months time? How much more does the situation change? How much of the world evolves around the choice to not get out there and fix it? I think you can make it compelling story-wise, that the vacation to craft stuff versus the getting out there and solving the problem, and that push and pull creates a tension as well as some value to the party. I'd like to know if you guys want to see more videos about item content, as it's something I'm fairly passionate about. I just don't like items in Pathfinder, and I've been thinking about diving into Pathfinder 1, looking at what was there, comparing it to what's in 2, and just seeing if it's just if it's a vibe I'm getting, if it's a feeling, or if it's a real difference in gameplay that I'm missing from Pathfinder 1. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think about items. Let me know what you think about the Essence Forge. Are you going to get this into your game somehow? If you're a GM, are you thinking of creative ways for your players to find an Essence Forge now? And if you're a player, how are you going to bring up to your GM that you'd really like to find something like this in the world? Heck, you could just say you learned about it in a library and you want to go chase it down and just completely derail that GM story arc to go find an Essence Forge. Let me know how that goes for you at your table. As always, if you like what we're doing here on the channel, please give a like and subscribe down below. It is the easiest way to support the channel and what we're doing here, and I very much appreciate it. All right, with that, I'm going to wish you a fantastic time on your 20-sided adventures. We'll catch you next time.